People love to say stop doing dumb things, they'll make you look stupid. But what if I told you the exact opposite is true? Some of the habits we laugh at, like doodling during a meeting, talking to yourself out loud, or just zoning out in the middle of class, actually rewire your brain to get sharper. Science shows these so-called dumb habits don't lower your intelligence. They secretly boost memory, creativity, and problem solving. So if you've ever been called weird for doing them, this video is your proof. Those dumb little habits might be the very thing making you smarter than everyone else. Here's the funny thing about habits. The ones we label as dumb are often the ones secretly keeping our brains sharp. Society tells us chewing on a pen, pacing around, or even daydreaming is a waste of time. Teachers call it distraction, parents call it laziness, and your boss might call it unprofessional. The truth? Many of these so-called dumb habits are actually brain hacks in disguise. They're the little quirks that sneakily sharpen focus, boost creativity, or give your mind a reset without you even noticing. So instead of beating yourself up for having these bad habits, maybe the real mistake is ignoring the hidden power inside them. Because the line between dumb and smart isn't as clear as we've been told. You ever catch yourself talking out loud while cooking, walking, or even arguing with the shampoo bottle in the shower, and then feel instantly embarrassed? Relax, you're not crazy, you're actually smart. Here's the truth. Self-talk looks dumb from the outside, but inside your brain, it's like opening a cheat code. Studies show that when you talk to yourself, your working memory sharpens, your focus tightens, and your emotions calm down faster. Basically, your brain listens better when your mouth is in on the conversation. The trick is how you do it. If you're just muttering random stuff, that's noise. But if you start using your own name, like instead of saying, "I got this," you say, "Alex, you got this." You trick your brain into seeing yourself almost like another person, and that creates distance, clarity, and surprisingly, confidence. So the next time you're nervous before an exam, a job interview, or even texting your crush, don't just think your pep talk, say it out loud. It may look dumb, but it's literally rewiring your brain to perform better. Okay, let me confess something weird. Some of the smartest people I've met can't sit through a meeting or lecture without doodling. Just random shapes, spirals, or stick figures that look like they were drawn by a bored 8-year-old. And yet science shows doodling actually improves focus and memory. Here's why. When your brain is forced to pay attention to something for a long stretch, like a lecture, Zoom call, or even a podcast, it starts drifting. That's when you zone out. But doodling keeps a small part of your brain occupied, which ironically frees up the rest of your brain to listen better. It's like giving your brain training wheels. Instead of slipping into daydream land, those little scribbles act as an anchor. In fact, a study from the University of Plymouth found that people who doodled while listening to a boring voicemail remembered 29% more information than people who just sat still. So the next time you're in class or a meeting, don't feel guilty for doodling in the margins. Just don't draw something too detailed. The point isn't to create art. It's to engage your brain just enough to stay alert. Keep it simple. Circles, lines, squiggles. Your notebook might look dumb, but your brain will thank you later. You know when your teacher used to yell at you for staring out the window instead of paying attention? Turns out, you might have been doing some of the smartest work your brain is capable of. Daydreaming gets a bad rap because it looks like you're being lazy. But in reality, your brain is entering what scientists call the default mode network, the system that lights up when you're not focused on the outside world. That's when your subconscious starts connecting random dots, solving problems, and sparking creativity. Einstein literally came up with some of his breakthroughs while just imagining himself riding on a beam of light. That wasn't him slacking off. It was structured daydreaming. So the dumb habit of letting your mind wander can actually make you smarter, more creative, and better at solving problems. The trick isn't to never daydream. It's to use it intentionally. Next time you're stuck on a problem, give yourself 5 minutes to drift. Don't grab your phone, don't force an answer, just let your brain wander. It's like mental composting. Throw in a bunch of scraps, walk away, and later, boom, fertilizer for genius ideas. We've all been there, sitting in a classroom, a meeting, or even just chatting with friends and a question pops into your head. But instead of asking it, you silence yourself because you think, everyone probably already knows this. I'll sound stupid. Here's the twist. Asking so-called dumb questions is one of the smartest things you can do. Why? Because dumb questions uncover hidden assumptions. They stop the room from running on autopilot. Many breakthroughs in science, business, and even everyday problem solving came from someone asking what sounded like an obvious question. Einstein famously said, "The important thing is not to stop questioning." He wasn't ashamed to ask simple things like, what if time works differently depending on speed? Sounds dumb until it becomes relativity. Psychologists call this intellectual humility, the willingness to admit you don't know something. People who embrace this habit actually learn faster, make fewer mistakes, and often end up leading conversations because they ask what everyone else is too afraid to. So the next time your brain says, "Don't ask, you'll look dumb," flip it. Remind yourself that not asking is what actually keeps you in the dark. Smart people aren't the ones with all the answers. They're the ones bold enough to ask the questions no one else will. You've probably been told to sit still since you were a kid. Teachers, parents, bosses, they all frame fidgeting as a sign of being distracted or not paying attention. But science says the opposite can be true. Small movements, tapping your foot, doodling on paper, rolling a pen between your fingers, actually help regulate mental energy. Researchers found that fidgeting can increase blood flow, reduce stress, and even keep your brain alert during long periods of focus. Think of it like letting off steam from a pressure cooker. Instead of your brain overheating with boredom or stress, those little movements act like tiny resets that keep you engaged. In fact, some studies link restlessness with higher creativity. That constant urge to move often pushes the mind to keep scanning for connections, ideas, and answers that others might miss. So the next time someone tells you to just sit still, remember, Einstein was famous for pacing around when stuck on problems. For him, that restless energy wasn't a flaw, it was fuel. The truth? Mentally sharp people often don't fight restlessness. They use it as a tool to think clearer, stay sharper, and solve problems faster. Here's a surprising one: forgetting. Yep, sometimes the smartest thing your brain can do is delete. See, your brain is like a hard drive. If it tries to hold on to every single detail, it gets cluttered, slow, and overwhelmed. But when you forget irrelevant stuff, like what you ate for lunch last Tuesday or a random Wi-Fi password you never use again, your brain frees up processing power for what actually matters. Psychologists call this productive forgetting. It's not weakness, it's optimization. By letting go of unnecessary clutter, you make room for deeper connections, sharper problem solving, and better focus on the present moment. Forgetting the right things doesn't make you dumb, it's literally what makes you smarter. Every single one of these so-called flaws, zoning out, overthinking, asking dumb questions, even forgetting things, they're not glitches in your personality. They're hidden features. They're signs that your brain is busy, curious, scanning for patterns, and refusing to accept the boring default. Most people waste their lives trying to erase these quirks, but the people who win, they learn how to use them. They turn zoning out into imagination, overthinking into strategy, restlessness into energy, forgetting into focus. And that's the real transformation. Once you stop fighting your quirks and start steering them, your personality flaws don't kill your potential, they build it. So the next time you catch yourself fidgeting, overanalyzing, or forgetting where you left your keys, don't panic. Smile, because it's proof that your brain is wired for more. Now, here's the thing. These so-called dumb habits, they're not flaws to erase. They're hidden tools you can actually use to get smarter every single day. If you found any one of these helpful, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video where we dig into even more counterintuitive ways to level up your brain. And hey, share this with that one friend who always doodles in class or talks to themselves. You might just make them feel like a genius. See you in the next one.